Regarding the world 2024, there are new and old challenges, modest growing, price crimes and costs and cuts, and cutting in production, and the pressure of the European norm, Fit for 54, is changing the horizon that for the producer and for the stakeholders is becoming uncertain. So in order to understand the directives that we should take to get over these obstacles and to start a new way of growth, we've tried to create, for the 6th edition of Green Talk, an analysis way that starts from data to arrive at the communication of these data. Thank you, everybody, for your presence. And let's start now with the 6th edition of Miglia Green Talk. To everybody, and I'd like to start with institutional greetings. And first of all, calling the Mayor of Brescia. Good morning. Good morning. Laura Castelletti. Gussa Liberetta Franco, the President of Brescia Confindustria, welcome. Aldo Bonomi, President of ACI Brescia. And Beatrice Sautini, which is the President of Miglia SRL. Welcome to all of you. This is your house. Well, I would like to start with the Mayor, Laura Castelletti. What we were saying, what I was trying to say before, was how we were going to touch a few themes which are not only industrial but are also the management, administrative management of our land. Today there are exogenous pushings, let's say, which come from Europe, but also make us feel that this is going to affect local management. Brescia, when we speak about sustainable mobility, has had the courage, Brescia's had the courage to foresee the change. We have a line, a metropolitan line, which when it was made seemed so much futuristic, which seemed at the time. But today the challenge is to complete the mobility, the public mobility, with another line, maybe even a second one, a third one in the future, which will increase the offer of mobility, alternative mobility. Of course, this doesn't conclude a way that sees Brescia as anyway inside an extremely important mobility way, but a game of a big town like Milan and a smaller town like Brescia maybe, which are trying to push to have a role. It's not easy to govern all this scene.
Governing is never, ruling is never easy, especially in a city like this, which is always less difficult, less easy. In this moment, here we have two councillors who are at an important, where they are having a 3-day confrontation in Romania. And since for the past few weeks we've been carrying out these discussions for the past 2 weeks. There are two very important themes which they are taking from Brescia. One is about mobility and digital transition. And this is because we are really at the forefront and we really want to get into a more ample system. We have reached Eurocities, and we are looked at as if an alternative city, because as we were saying before, we have made choices which were tied to mobility, sustainable mobility, and so our attention to quality, life quality, and also to the environment has a story which is becoming longer. If we're just looking at mobility, I'm not going through utility and everything. No innovation. I'm just looking at mobility. It is difficult to find, and I see how people are surprised when they come to Brescia. We have less than 200,000 people. We have a metro, and in the first 10 years, we have taken 150 million fruitions who have moved on our line. Now is a big challenge. In this month, by the 25th of June, we're going to take into the administration, make the electric tram something concrete. So the metro from north to south connects the city. Now we're going to build a light tram from west to the center city. By October, we will deposit this programming, this list of programming. We don't have the resources, yes, but for this line, we have the resources. We're going to also complete the line towards east. So there's a projection to the future of the city, which has a mobility that is sustainable for the public and has a lot of value.
Thank you very much, Mayor. President Beatrice Sautini, what this mayor said, who is calling the necessity and also the responsibility of the administration. Of course, this change, so important that we are living, needs a dialogue between a series of stakeholders or points of view, like, for example, industry, and also the population that has its needs. Maybe this time, maybe these debates and analysis can help to try and find a normal common point and also synthesis.
Obviously, yes, it's necessary that everybody moves in the right direction because sustainability is a challenge that we must win. So it's necessary. And Miglia, which is a state-owned company and therefore has in its mission the fact that it has an attention and a responsibility towards the social part, and it pays attention to development. I was saying it's necessary that in moments as a debate like this one, we can speak and discuss and speak to each other and have an idea. And as what we've understood is in the last few years, and maybe it's different as we thought it would have been at the beginning of our path, this change can only happen through a responsible use of resources and only through a deeper change, which is a cultural change. So there must be a participation from the political side, also international politics, economical side, civic side, and there must be a responsibility of every single person, because in this way we can reach our goal in this goal. At the beginning, it seemed much easier. It seemed only a choice of an economical choice, but now it is becoming. It's obvious that now it is more the fruit of some kind of self-awareness that we must all have, and that make our civility make this planet better.
Thank you, President of Miglia SRL. Franco Gusali Beretta, which is the head of the Brescia Confindustria. President, there is, of course, an industrial challenge that has to be handled without big errors, few resources, even less time. Even the sectors of the mechanic and mechatronics and automotive sectors are called to respond in first person. You're in the front line.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for this question, and thank you for the invitation, because this is a theme which is a central theme for the Confindustria of Brescia, but for the whole industrial part of Brescia. I would like to remind everybody about the great impact thanks to the cars. There are 250 cars, 18,000 people working, 6.5 billion euros coming from Brescia. Why? Because the impulse has been given by Miglia. Miglia gave this impulse almost 100 years ago to this industry. We've given this graph to show how important the Brescia industry is in the car industry. And this is a representation, a graphic representation that we have behind me, which shows how the industry, the Brescia industry, produces for the industry, for the car industry. So without Brescia, we could actually say a car industry would not exist. The theme of today is particularly important, obviously at a global level, but also, as I was saying before, for our industry. I would like to give some more data, because we like giving data. The last study made by Ampia, which is the category for the industries and the cars, Focus Italia Trade in 2024, gave not very happy results. We have some question marks. The import of cars is increasing because it's 21% more than the year before. The export is increasing, but only for trucks. For cars, unfortunately, we have minus 4.6%. So the industry in general in Italy, and also the car industry in Brescia, this is data that makes us think. This is the result of politics that did not keep in mind some considerations, some points. As industrialists, we absolutely want to have to get this big change and use it as an opportunity. But we must be at all points. We cannot be ideological, but we must be pragmatical. And so we have to continuously, we have to make the neutrality point much more important than before. And so for certain points, electric cars is a good idea, but for other types, we need other types of technology, which in some cases could be this new the hydrogen technology. But what I would like to underline is that we are living a rebirthing in technology. So how as much as it can be, how much as we can concentrate on a certain technology, we see also that almost every year there's an epochal change. So we need time to get the best occasions to really have some kind of impact, and to really have to really understand this impact that we are having. This is a preoccupation that we have, a concern, but also a big opportunity. And I can assure you that all the major players who will then speak later on. Here we have our president of Paolo Steparava and Cavaliere Bonometti, who will give these themes, and even they will go too deep. They will deepen these themes. We have to also have this technological neutrality must be important.
It seems that also your new number one, Orsini, has his new speech, his institutional speech, and he really forced this.
Well, absolutely. The whole of the Confindustria is aligned, even if we know that there are other difficulties that we will have to face, because one of the big themes that we'll have to face is the theme of competence, of skills, because if we really access to these new technologies to find new solutions, we need to have new collaborators and know how to collaborate with universities to have these new solutions. And I would like to end by saying thanks to the impulse that Miglia has given, that Miglia gave almost 100 years ago, and everything that has been developed in Brescia industry Brescia can still play a very important role, both as companies and also as a stimulus for real research for a solution. That's why I'd like to thank Miglia that keeps on trying to create these moments of debate so that we can discuss this very important theme to find real solutions in order to give a good contribution to the economic side and to give a contribution to the environment change.
President Gusali Belletta, thank you. From President to President, President Archie Bonomi. We wanted to give this edition of Miglia Green Talk this uncertain horizon of mobility, but the uncertainty, of course, is the raw materials, that is where the businessmen are and where the ideas come from. Well, of course, let's say that Brescia has always been a main actor, especially in the automotive area. The uncertainty of today in the Brescian world and also in all the world, the Brescian businessmen know how to handle it and how to handle the new requests of the market and what is necessary. And as the Automotive Club of Brescia, many years ago when it was formed in 1927, as if it was a few years maybe even before, we are looking to see exactly when it was done. There's always been distinguishing as the main actors in automobilization in international world. And this new green talk that we've wanted together with Miglia SRL means that we have to think of the future. A sustainable future is possible. The efforts that the automotive world, and especially in Brescia, and also this is where the revolution started, referring to what the Germans have done and other countries have done in the electric world. I think that this shows the vitality of the Brescian vitality. And as Automotive Club of Brescia, we have a great responsibility. We had a great responsibility in the past and even in the future, and today we have an even greater responsibility towards the territory, towards the community, towards the market. I think what we are doing all together now at this Green Talk is one of the most important reference points, means that Brescia is always in the center of what is happening in this changing world. I think that together we will be able, being together, we will be able to, again, to overcome this difficult moment. And I think we'll be one of the artifacts of the future. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you very much, everybody. And let's start now the real start of the work of this edition of the Green Talk. Thank you very much. I take advantage now, invite Giovanni Miragliotti, who's responsible of the scientific of the smart and connected car of Politecnico Milano Observatory. Because, as I said before, or as Franco said before, it's always numbers that we have to start with. Welcome, Professor. And on this occasion, let's present, in advance, or at least a little bit in advance, your analysis of 2024, of what is now a traditional observatory smart of connected car.
Thank you for inviting me here today. It's a very big pleasure for me to come back to Brescia, which is where I started my academic
Because you're an engineer.
Because I'm an engineer. And the business, there is a very, very important entrepreneurial city. This morning, today it's very difficult to understand what is going on. And so our observatory of the connected car, smart and connected car, likes to give a good idea of what's going on. Obviously, there are a lot of factors which condition the evolution of this world. At the beginning, I'd like to give some kind of information, starting from the condition of the cars, which, as you can see behind me, is giving an up and down trend, but it's actually positive at the end. The thing that makes us understand most the difficulty of our car industry compared to the rest of the world is the cars that are the electric and full electric cars and battery vehicles that are registered compared to the total, which, as you can see, is around 6%, which is less than half of the European average. And this is due to around electric cars, and keeping in mind the technology of these cars, we are having a strong battle of innovation and a significant change in mobility. This is going to be very hard. It's not only going to be hard for the car industry, but for all the component companies that are going to be called upon to rechange and reimagine how to change everything. Compared to the targets that were discussed a lot about the transition and by the European community that the community has tried to have. We have a lot of things to be able to. We have a lot of themes that we have to discuss. That's why I would like to show you a podcast that we have about this transition mobility, and in which we have spoken about a lot of the recycling themes, all kinds of infrastructures, the battery. There's a lot of space is given to how Europe can also make a big change compared to the industrial side. And for the consumers, these are fundamental characteristics which must be taken into consideration, because in reality, the transition to electric mobility must be considered completely and correctly. And as a competitive point, another important point is the smart and connected mobility market. It has a constant rise every year. This is the numbers. This is like 2023. We speak about 3 billion euros, which has a very, very important and healthy foundations. There is the connection of the car, which is important, how to connect the cars. Now we're on the Italian scenario, with about one car out of 4 is connected. And so for the cars that are coming right out of the new markets, they have insurance boxes, which help also the way to drive. And there's a very important market on how to handle the fleets. Now, where we are arriving is that mobility is, from mobility we can start and reach a very important point, because when I see that one car out of 4 is an electric car, I'm going into a big richness of data, which I will speak about later. The second component are the ADAS systems, which are always more important, not because they are compulsory by law and because they were optional before, and now they are pushing the car. They are being put in all cars for safety of people. But these systems, these ADAS systems, are putting everything into a kind of a competition and are becoming put into autonomous cars. And there is a discontinuity which is quite strong, and there must be this continuity that must be given to the driver. And the third important part is the connected services, the services which are connected to the mobility. And here the market must explode, because now we've been speaking about the things that are very difficult for this mobility. Now we must think about things that are concrete in this type of field. We must also focus on the mobility projects, which are innovative, mobility as a service, which is being put on the territory. Every year we are monitoring the dynamics, we're monitoring the services and the distribution. This is a very important theme, because we are receiving resources which are very important from the PNNR, which are giving us further help and further strength. We must also think that projecting and designing the new mobility, making it competitive, and we must also be able to make it something that can enter all social categories, which are well clustered and well segmented, and things that this service must evolve and also become. These must be things. The differences have been taken part since the pandemic. Now, not only is mobility as a service important, but there are also the infrastructure projects which are important, because we cannot consider a car super smart and then remain with roads and tunnels which are not advanced and which are date back to 100 years ago. Now, the people in our laboratory at the Politecnico University of Milan are designing galleries and tunnels for the motorways, which the GPS can, in which now the GPS cannot be connected. These will be able to be connected in the future, and this will be able to guarantee safety also in when there are works on the roads and people cannot be connected. Now, the investments in smart roads and infrastructure has a big increase. The PNR system is contributing well, and this gives us good hope for the future, because the mobility in the future will be an interaction between a car that will be more intelligent, infrastructures that will be with more sensors that can exchange data with the car, and then the whole strata and the whole layer between the two, which will make mobility a very different.
Thank you. I just want to interrupt you, because I think I've understood from your analysis that the focus is moving from the town as a propulsive element and innovation to the territory, from the smart city to the smart land, so as to be able to start the market, which is what the market is offering to consumers, but also to the administrators.
It's very difficult to give an idea of what the trends will be for the centralizing or decentralizing. Many studies see that urbanization is increasing for mega cities. Other things see that technology for alternative mobility and connectivity, it's becoming more attractive for the territories and the territories around cities. I'm not giving my personal opinion, but what is evident is that as designing metropolitan areas and designing industry and an industrial area which has a value, something that is fertile economically speaking, it would be important to combine the two territories. And also within the city, we must start to think that many mistakes from the past, which the technologies in the past allowed us to design the territories, now we can change this way of designing. Because now, in the same time, everybody can move up and down without getting blocked, and everybody can drive to the same area, the campus education, to a health pole, so people can move to the same place without getting stuck. This must give also the architectural changes that were taken in the past, must now be changed towards a smart city. And now the smart city is not just a place where the citizen can find parking easily or access to resources easily, but the entire living of the territory is emphasized. And now also what we saw before, when the mayor before said how important it is to create mobility infrastructures, because where there are mobility
maybe the
infrastructures is
era,
technology.
from a certain point of view, is to have imagined a Europe of services where the industry and the manufacturing had greater space and had greater role. Today, yes, industrially, but also politically, maybe just for the change of the geopolitics that we are living at the moment, there is a need of reshoring of some activities, some productive, strategic productivity, and also advanced technology, and changes the whole scenery, which changes our everyday life. There's not only white collars. We're going to be all blue collars or white.
Another nice, very important question. Just let me discuss this. The geopolitical change is violently evident. In reality, industrial economics, starting from 2008, and this was from the first Obama administration, made this decentralizing the manufacturing area, made everything poorer, because whoever, I know I'm an engineer, when you start producing and you are developing abilities, but also the researcher, it's not possible to have a research and development without creating something. You must there's a fork between making and producing and developing. Now the entire Western world, starting from the United States, has started giving us. Now we are reaching the point.
They had their beautiful offices of research and development, but they were completely unconnected to the games.
And it's in everything in the factories which are now becoming poorer because years after year, because now we have an innovation capacity. There's a spontaneous local districts, as we saw before, as I saw before, the increase in all the production, and now there's a concrete, there's a distortion also of the political management. Now we are becoming independent from the conflicts of the geopolitical conflicts, which is evidently, very violently evident. What we have lost is the ability to innovate. If we do not produce, we do not innovate. I don't want to enter into any kind of judgments made by the UK or the Europeans. It's been very heavy, the way that the UK has now made the changes. Also United States. The fact that now Apple has managed to become an innovative leader, even if they outsourced all the manufacturing, is an example that sustained that type of political choices. But there's a difference between hardware and software. This now has happened. Maybe mistakes have been made. Now we are making compensations because now it is clear. There's a very important article which was written in 2008 that now if you don't produce, you don't innovate. I believe now this message is very clear for management and for businessmen, and now it's not very clear for the young layers, the young people, the people who are still studying, the schools, where there is a difference between the attractiveness of the idea of a profession which is enthusiastic for young people compared to manufacturing experience. There is a lot to be done between the two to bring the two worlds together. But yeah, we have we've gone away, but from green mobility.
Thank you very much. And your presentation must continue.
I just wanted to speak a bit about something that speaks about Miglia, because for the trend of the future is the autonomous drive, which we said already before, must not be seen as a sensor, either from one point to there's no autonomous drive and now completely, but to develop this we did a lot of research. One of the flagship projects is the 1000 MED, which is done by the Politecnico University of Milan. I'm one of the people involved, and I would like to bring the greetings from Professor Savaresi, who's the professor that carries out these experiments. We have now chosen 2 Maseratis, the one of last year and the one that will be this year, the one that will drive automatically, autonomously through the Miglia race.
Without a driver, internal driver.
There is a driver inside, because by law there must be. But last year we were just starting up, we were heating up. We just did 60 kilometers by autonomously. Now, thanks to the great support from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transport, we will have the authorization of 1,000 kilometers to be driven autonomously during the race. And we're going to obtain new ideas on how we can have leadership in research. Just to close, in Europe, apart from the manufacturing side, the research tied to mobility and to the car industry is very important. Our Polytechnic University, if manufacturing disappears from Italy, we will lose a lot of space with companies, with technology. We must not forget that there is our excellence in our development. we have the people, the excellence of the workmanship, etc. And this is a competition. It will not be easy.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much. And to all your colleagues, thank you. Very good.
Now, after having studied the future, let's now enter into the companies, into factories, for the second panel, the second discussion panel of this Green Talk. Now we want to use it, we want to entitle it Producing the Future. And here we are, or Manufacturing the Future. Here is a very important challenge for mobility. Paolo Steparava, the CEO of Gruppo Steparava, with the mandate for credit, finance and taxation. Thank you. Marco Bonometti, the CEO and President and Chairman of the Gruppo OMR. Thank you for being here. And Mauro Quaini, who's the founder and technical director of Punto.com Group. Please welcome. This is not metal mechanics, but you work with the metal mechanical industry. I would like to start from Paolo Steparava. The data and numbers that we have seen that Polytechnic University of Milan showed us before showed us a scenario that is extremely complex, but from a certain point of view positive, in the sense that the challenges are, there are many challenges, but the occasions to enter to so we can enter the supply chains in a correct way. As the Prefect was saying, we need to be able to put together the doing and the making.
Let's start by being a businessman is already difficult in the automotive world, has become even difficult with all the layers of difficulty. The electrification has brought, let's say, that's moved the attention from the innovation, the real innovation, to concentrate onto the electric paradigm, equal to sustainability, which is a paradigm which is showing its weaknesses. We are seeing fingers in the moon. We are seeing things that are not clear. I have the presentation, was fascinating, and absolutely we are involved in it, and in certain sectors we are involved, but the 600 billion euros which were invested for electrification have to be paid with amortization by the companies. And if they don't sell billions of cars, how can they manage this financial balance sheet? Future won't be electrical if future is electric. Usually future is very important. We are in front of a law that brought electrification as a solution to a problem, as if you go to a dentist and you say, "Here, please remove my tooth." It's absolutely political, and it doesn't resolve the problem, because as you all know, that the pollution, and we've seen it in other ways, the pollution from the car, the induction car, and all from in Europe is 2% in a global world. So we have a 2% global pollution. Please. We are having this titanic effort to remove this 2%, but in 5 or 6 years, in 2026, how will be the pollution in Europe? I think maybe 0.5, because countries are growing, which I'm asking for really solving the problem.
In your company especially, how do you manage this, how can I say, this necessity to take ahead 2 or more projects, 2 more platforms?
Well, we don't produce electrical components for now, because we must also see what's going to happen in the future. We have to understand the situation. But we are introduced in the artificial intelligence through a company which is handling this specifically, and with the autonomous driving, and in the electrical part, constructing transport platforms. So we are there, but we are also looking to see for internal combustion engines, because we are convinced that it won't die. It will never die, the internal combustion engines. The problem is that if you look on the OM side, the construction side, they've invested a lot in electrical, but do they have the resources to take further other technologies that have to be innovative, sustainable, hydrogen, and continue to develop these internal combustion engines? We are speaking about this 110-year history of these engines, but now these companies must work, sell electric cars, be competitive, fight against all the Chinese embarrassing competitors, and the numbers that we saw, that 21% is that.
On the other hand, I'd like to say that the products were made by China, the Chinese, but the European products are improving in
Probably,
quality.
but it's a question of time, like in everything. I always say that experience is something that you can't buy, thank God. So they need to have a bit more experience, also them. Quality-wise, they're better. Let's say the change or the development in electrifying, but there's many micro trains in the car, etc. They're a little bit easier with the software. The battery, of course, the solid and unsolid battery, every year they keep saying it's going to arrive. And of course, it's going to arrive from China, for sure, solid. But that it remains. This is what the game changer. If a battery, a low cost battery, if we arrive first, then a great tend of the production, we will have problems.
Cavalier Bonometti, maybe we Italians are concentrating a bit too much on what's happening in Europe, on our system, also our thinking system, our thoughts, not industrial ideas. You have an international company that didn't start yesterday, but it was one of the first to understand how important it is to stay in the geographic world, how important it is to be near the players. What is happening in the world whilst we are discussing about electricity?
First, of course, in the world, everything is completely different. Only Europe has a problem. And I must say thank you to this initiative, because information, as you said before about the journalists, information is the basis, is to inform the public. I'd say today is more important than other times, because we are at the eve of European elections. It's the opportunity that the European citizens and Italian citizens have to change the rules. The Green Deal that failed with all its expectations, as Treperava said, we moved. All this, it has failed because of Europe. And the problem is the transition to electric world. They said in 2030 we would have clean energy, and we don't even have enough energy now to use or to move the companies. Germany has 40%, Poland has 80%. Can you see that there's something that's not working? In the other sides of the world is working differently. The energy is clean, or at least partially clean. There's availability of energy. And of course, the initiative that Europe is taking is just a drop in the ocean. Because if Europe puts 8%, 7%, according to the studies, of CO2, China puts 30%, America 17%, India 18, 19%. So our efforts are subhuman. The most important opportunity we have, it must be changed, the law. The law, the 455, which has been voted by everybody, even Confindustria voted for it. So let's not go behind this. The market says other things. Of course, we cannot stop innovation. The company cannot, the factories can't stop today. We have to decide in Europe if we want still factories, because services are developed, but if you don't have factories, services are closed. So we have an epic change. Europe, which is the biggest, most important world, is becoming nothing towards America and China. So we've done researches, development, we've done various things. Now, either they change the law, or also the constructors who started having, after Dieselgate, a position.
That is the great moment of change.
That's when they realized that they wanted to recreate something, but they gave up too much. Now they're going backwards. They're taking a step backwards because they realized the electric car doesn't have margins respect to combustion cars. We are for everything that we can to reduce CO2, but they cannot forbid a whole continent to use its technology. In 2035, who knows how many technologies there'll be, fuel, hydrogen, carbon fuel. But in these years, we will see that the technology is so strong. Who knows what solution we'll have. But the choices made today will condition the constructors, and especially in Europe, having given 800 billion in the market.
Another 600 billion.
Let's see, they've stopped now.
And this is the news.
Of course, they say it, but until the law doesn't change, what do we have to do? It's understandable. Even if the market is showing that they're wrong, on an electric car, there's 50% of components less. I already said this before. In the 70s, 600 cost 990,000 lira, 5 salaries of a worker. To now, an electric costs 25,500, which is 10 salaries of a normal worker. So we are going through something that we conquered. We are removing it.
The Ford model.
In the world, they will still be producing 100 million. China, which had a boom in electric. Why did it have a boom? Because the state gave incentives. The number plates in Shanghai and Peking cost 900,000 euro. Now they've realized 950 euros to give to everybody stopped. So it stopped the internal market. So they're going to the external. So we are asking to Europe to cancel that law, to cancel the analogical way to save the planet, the temperatures. We are completely in agreement to save the planet, but they must also put some parts that will make it impossible to make Chinese cars enter and to make them pay 10%. And when we export to China, we pay 25%. Let me give you an example. In USA, Europe stopped making combustion engines. And in America, they've given incentives. They've blocked all importation from China. They nationalized it, and I say nationalize it so that our politics understand differently. Nationalization means if I produce a car, 70% of the producers of what is produced must be produced in this country. Otherwise, you have to pay extra tax. Can you understand? The other day, I was at the Motor Valley, and there were the Emilian people. Motor Valley is where there's Ferrari, and if you remove Ferrari and Lamborghini, you remove the Motor Valley. We have to defend the electric car. We have to defend the workers with incentives. But you cannot think every year the state must give incentives to the constructors. Also because the constructors of today are already starting to get back from the hydrothermic, maybe with zero conditions. So the great German constructors are already going in that direction. For example, in Brescia, and I say officially, we're investing 40 million in a battery case. It's the part of the cars that they put the battery inside. It will be a part of the production. We've also always said that the combination between combustion and electric will be the correct way to grow. Remember, the car sector is worth 13 million of place 60 million of fiscal and also growth. And in Italy, 1,300,000 people, 70 billion of fiscal debt. So you can see that there is a change. Today there's great confusion, only in Europe. I'll give you another example. They closed in Poland, they sent it to Holland, and they're making double of the combustion engines. So if Europe wants to give a solution and defend its industry, because we are speaking about cars, but there are thousands of factories, chemical, packaging. Every choice, ideological choice, made only to get consensus of the people is not standing anymore. That's why it's important. The newspapers have to give information. They have to say how the things are, because otherwise we are creating illusions internally.
I would like to stop you here. Mauro Quaini. The question is, you make, you consult, you do information IT consultancy, you offer services, also IT products, but you offer them on a territory that is extremely dedicated to the manufacturing of, as Esteparava was saying, we'll comment also, which has a traditional setting. What does it mean today to put together these two worlds, these two ideologies that are so separate? Well, now we're in a historical moment, which is a big revolution. The president before, Franco Beretta, spoke about technological renaissance. I would like to say another sentence, which is a technological revolution, but a revolution in all fields, in every field, in every impact concerning work, which we have today. In 2022, we had this new advent of the artificial intelligence. It didn't start it started many years ago. In 2022, it was put before all of us by very important players like OpenAI and the GPT. In this sense, I agree very much with what the speakers were saying before. Also, in this case, we are renouncing technology. We are giving up on technology because, in the fact, we are now waiting. We are just waiting for the Americans to create technology, the Chinese to copy them, and to improve it. And in Europe, excuse me, we are trying to make it a law. I was in the ministry, the meeting the other day, and realized that Italy is the country with more ethical committees than in all the world. We don't have this type of technology. France took another path, which was Mistral, to control the energy, but we want to block everything. We want to obstacle everything. I don't know if the future will be electric or not, because we have everything else, all the car industry behind us. We also have to transport goods, which for us Italians is a very important
100% of rubber today.
Very important impact. The reasoning that we have put together, I saw before on the slides, since 2017, in the province of Brescia, we have collected an average of 30 terabytes a day. There's a lot of information based on what? Based on companies, based on what the various machines are making, the various machines are producing. This is our advantage. We're in a historic moment where that information, that data, and finally, we must put it now to the ground. We have all the elements. We have all the innovation that allows us to optimize everything. I can guarantee that from here until 2026, all the professions will become impacted.
What you're saying is that there's no innovation without production. These two must be together. We have this.
I confirm this, yes. We have the 4.0 industry We have put all the information to our servers, which could be local or remote. We can start another chapter on this.
Local,
or remote, edging, private, public, everything you want. We put all the data in our pockets. Now we understand how to put this to the ground, how to improve tomorrow the smart cities, production, projects. To improve production, we followed a project in the automotive sector, in a company, in Stellantis, for the sealing between the chassis and the scock. And this sealing point was calculated by 36. We saved 36% of the time and of mistakes. And the analysis of that and all this type of technology has allowed us to reduce mistakes. Paolo Steparava, I would like to go back to the reasoning of Mauro Quaini on invasion, let's say, of the new logic of artificial intelligence generated within companies. What is happening in your company? How much is this new technology? How much is this new technology going to change the organizational logic of a company like yours, which already, over the years, has started a lean process and which transformed the factory model?
So thank you for the question, which is very light. I would just like to concentrate on something that Quaini said, and I thank you because you taught me a lot today, is the difficulty that the companies have in transforming the data into information. Often we always say it's the same thing, but because a data, as Quaini said, for it to become or to have value, for it to be important to have a machine learning procedure, it must become information. And this transition for the companies alone is very difficult, because it's true that we have tera of gigas of information, but how do we make this become comprehensive? And Deming said, without a data, you're another person just with an opinion. So, of course, the next part is that this data must become information. This is what we need. We need information, not data. So the organizational structures of the companies must be used to reasoning and getting into the information and the technological word like machine learning and artificial intelligence to understand what habilitates the company that then the market wants to buy. Because, of course, it's very difficult to understand what the market wants. What will the market buy tomorrow? As Quaini said, we need a bettering of the procedure for direct cost, or even for the production processes, which are very important for quality, which is in direct way, is an example of how you apply the technology to get a value. On the other side, however, is the people, because the people have people. Companies have people, and these people don't have artificial intelligence, thank God for now, because they're trying to give us something to put inside us. But the first round has failed, thank God, and I'm happy about that. But how can you do a way that your company understands what is the habilitating procedures of the disruptive technology that we have available, or how can we create a way for versus the client? This is the most difficult part. We have this lean way. It's quite a banal way. It's good sense applied. How do you apply the good sense? But not with artificial intelligence or with algorithm or with people, but for us, it was very important to see what the first value was for the client. And everything that the client needed was what was the waste. What doesn't create value for the client? What doesn't the client want to buy? So it must be eliminated, what they don't want. And we did 7 years of great commitment in the organizational world, because for 10 years we're working productively. Today, the challenge is to make the company and the organization agile. We are activating a process where the young, and only the young ones, and the ones that are younger than Steparava, so a lateral side out of the box, so they are freer to be as free as possible. We've given them this job to design the job for Steparava and tell us what will come out. This, of course, was quite surprising. We are interested that the ideas from the outside, the young people know how to run, but it's the old people who know the street. So they run, and we slowly show them the way. The answer is, in maximum synthesis, you must work on the people, have understood the generational value, what the market wants to buy, the client wants to buy, and make a way that whatever is on the market, it's like to go to the Excelunga with Excelunga. The most important thing is you must understand which technology will create value. So let's hope 2030 will be a little bit more agile.
Mauro Quaini, Steparava was saying about the importance of talent and the importance of people and human components within the companies. How much does the revolution that you were speaking of, the digital revolution taken ahead by artificial intelligence, how much does it change the scale of values, or how much will it change?
I'll give you just one example, a very simple one. In .com, the AI is a physical, or is partially competent for programming. He's a person who's mathematical, and he creates mathematics. So the reasoning today is we are changing the expertise of the people. We are valorizing them for their ideas, because for the executive part, we are handling with algorithms which are doing a job which is an extraordinary world. They take big problems, and it's correct, because in this phase it's correct that there are errors, clamorous errors.
Well, it's the big warm-up of the future.
Yes. If we then start opening the hat of the robot world, where we see on news Boston Dynamics, which is a research company. It's not a company that produces robots. But if we see who's producing robots, with less than $30,000, they can move 20 kilos in a constant way. That means 24 hours a day. So if we see videos where I teach a robot, seeing a man making a coffee with the first one they make a mistake, the second one they make a mistake, the third one they manage. So it makes my coffee. So the approach that we are having with the force of our human force must change. Because from one side, we have a very quick motor engine. For example, if we today make choices from the moment we get out of the bed, each one makes a choice. The average of the IQ, of the human IQ, is 90 to 110 as a pointage. A person in this range takes a choice according to 5-10 variables. It's easy. Today, the motor of the enter levels does 300 variables. Artificial intelligence could even use 1,000 if it's more agile. GPT, the items that he refers to, is 15 trillions. It's quite different.
Marco Bonometti, at the end, how much does this global challenge, this national, international challenge, how much does it change? How much is the automation in your company an arm, a weapon that we can use as an advantage to reduce production costs, maintain higher the quality, but also to be competitive, to compare to the places where the money and work are lower than ours? It's part of the process. But I don't want to elude anybody. But all these points, these things that we have said now, if we don't defend the companies, everything is finished. We must give an appointment and take an important decision. Europe must decide if to continue to make factories produce and make everything must be reevaluated. If we don't have a basic production supply chain, if we don't have everything at the bottom, we don't have a product. So all these points, all these discussion points made now, but because we must make these factories, we must produce, we must support them. If we do not create factories, we do not create well-being. And then there's a problem with the salaries and inflation. If we don't have work, and I said as a businessman, but also for my colleagues, we must defend work and the people within the companies. If we lose this combination, we've lost everything. We don't work anymore. There will no be services, no be universities. Then what will the universities do? Why will they make engineers? They will make engineers to become doctors. So this must be important, but I ask you, as communication organs, people must know this. If people want to create a future, we must defend the country, we must defend the factories, always following rules, but if we do not change those rules, also automation point, who's going to invest in automation? The companies in Italy have already finished doing everything, because if we want to be competitive, and if the factories have done everything that we have done, if the factories have done everything they could, that was in their possibility, but if we do not create this competition, if we do not create some kind of defense of our companies, there will be no more factories. How can we reduce costs of working costs? We must reduce everything so that the entrepreneurs can earn more. But everything must be redimensioned. Now we are back at the point. We should go back to the beginnings, because now we must produce more than other countries, and we must produce and make also opportunities. The work costs cannot be reduced. Instead of making all kind of interventions, we must make structural interventions, because Italy and Europe can be competitive.
The request, of course, is a political request.
The industrial politics and European industrial politics, and also Italian, because Europe makes the laws, but I must underline something, because we keep on saying the same things, but we've reached a point where it does not depend on us anymore. It depends on a political choice. And I say this all to everybody. The Fit for 55 was voted for by PD, Calenda, Renzi, Confindustria. Fit for 55 was voted for everybody. And so, if our representatives in Italy, our Italian representatives in Europe must be coherent and vote in the same direction.
Thank you very much, Marco Bonobette, Marco Quaini, and Paolo Streparava, for your participation. Thank you very much. So from the future, let's go to another important section, where to live, how changes the forms and the functions of where we live, the urban life. So let's get the responses and the answers from Gianluca Schinaia, as the head of sustainability of Sustain. Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for being with us today. Please take a seat. Because as we were saying, and as the mayor was saying in her initial greetings, the challenge is industrial, it's cultural, but it's also sustainable mobility. It's also urban if we want.
Absolutely, yes. The theme that we have spoken about today is a central theme. How do we move in the spaces in which we live, and also the moving from one point to another. But the place where we live must be the starting point of our reflections also for the future. So what I would like to underline today is the practical solutions. Now we're going to speak about certain things which will be in the context, but we must reach to a concrete solution, which we have developed here in Italy. Everything is possible also here in Italy. which has a lot of problems, a lot of limits, also organizational. Let's start from the cities. So what are cities? So we say that we know that this now will be the century of the cities, where we will have all kind of urban global points. So 80% of the 80% of the future populations will live in the cities. So now in the future, most of the Europeans will live in the cities. So what will they need?
Also, the products will change. The mobility products will change.
Exactly, because we will need. There will be the theme, as we spoke about before, for energy feed. We will need cities which need more energy. We're living in a way. We're living these climate change problems. So if something is resilient, and when I say that, if every month we have a new emergency every month, because now it's daily that we have an emergency every day, thanks to the climate change, and everything is devastating for our cities, because Italian cities has the most UNESCO heritage site points in Europe, in the world. But when you have cities that are so old, when you have a very bad hailstorm or a very bad downpour, we must have an intelligent way to handle this. The cities of Italy need a better quality. They need to be sustainable. They need to be digitalized and included. We know that digitalization is an aid, and artificial intelligence and sustainability is now the future. But the inclusivity, where is this now? Where is the social sustainability? When did the fourth revolution, what will it bring about? Our children, the problems that they have with the urban socialization. We know that our children do not have any more this way of relating with other people. Now we have to recreate social relations. So what are we creating as humanity and as trends for tomorrow? Here are three generical solutions, but just to give you an idea. The first, this is the 15-minute city. It's now
It's become a political claim.
Yes. In Paris, there was this new, in Beppe Sala, Gualtieri in Rome. There are now these 15-minute cities. What does it mean? It means creating multifunctional neighborhoods that give people, that give any kind of person, the possibility to reach other points of the city in 15 minutes. This we need logistical solutions, and infrastructural solutions that give both the possibility to move within the city, which seems like a banal thing. But I come from Rome, but it's not easy to move around Rome and then create a point from reaching one point to the other. There's another smart city, which is another point. This is a technological evolution in cities which make intelligent cities. And here is this is the smart city type of living. And then there is the possibility, another kind of thing which it could not be possible, which is a line city. This is being made up in Saudi Arabia, where you can move in 5 minutes from one point to another. But this needs a lot of financing, a lot of investment, something which is not really possible to carry out. This could happen in Saudi Arabia, but not really in other parts of the world. It's fascinating, but not possible. Now we have an idea of the cities. How do we move from one point to the other? Through micromobility. We saw that micromobility is conquering Europe because Europe is becoming always more open to these ideas of the 15-minute cities. You cannot have a 15-minute city without metros, without the way of having, let's say, intelligent urban structures. Without, however, having micro means
the last kilometer. What's the last kilometer that we have to do? Which ones?
What are these ways of micro-mobility which are the most spread out?
Complementarily for an infrastructure which must be
fundamental. This is the most important point. If we don't have a basic fundamental way of moving like kick scooters or metros. How can we work? Micromobility imposes a cultural and mental change, which means abandoning the car and using other ways of moving.
Or we abandon the car or leave the car outside from the urban circle to then be able to have a commuting, which is complementary. Let's say one of the big themes is that we can photograph in a good way in how the province is difficult to use the public transport and how difficult it is for public transport to bring us to the hubs, which are exchangeable hubs, from which can start this type of reasoning.
Absolutely, yes. I don't want to be misunderstood. The cars cars will always be an important means of the future. Clearly, as you said, to go on other kinds of roads, obviously, which are not the urban ones. The problem of getting traffic jams is made by private cars, so we must discourage this type of thing. We have to do more for means: bicycles, electrical kick scooters. Maybe these are ways of the segways. These mono wheel things that you see sometimes in the cities with there's only one wheel, which are always more common, and microcars. These 4 elements have had a big spread out in our country. In 2022, the last data that we received, because then unfortunately there's a gap. Anyway, in 2022, the data said that between 2022 and 2023, 50% more of these mains were used more than the year before. In Rome, this thing exploded. And obviously, this we can understand because we have a lot of problems of traffic in Rome. And so kick scooters could be a solution, a very intelligent solution. But then this also happened in Paris, in Berlin. This thing now is being pushed into all the cities. So starting from this point, I thought we can come up with a solution. I thought to bring a solution. We have ideas, scenarios. We saw how to bring a pedestrian kind of processing into the cities. We must eliminate or move away cars from the urban centers, which we can do with but also not only for the pollution, but also to make cities more livable. We must give people the way to move around easily and also to become more sociable and to become more inclusive. We have a solution which was developed in 2009 in Times Square in New York. New York was the first city in the world to have tactical urbanism. This is an evolution of urban resilience, the only city in the world where this tactical urbanism was taken out, the only city that put this into practice, and it was planned in Milan. It's the only city in Europe. Amsterdam did other things, Copenhagen other things, but nothing did like Milan, which made this urban resilience. This means the city must respond to the climatic change with the reorganization of urban spaces. Fundamentally, tactical urbanism is a new vision of the city. It's a new way of reinterpreting parts of the city, especially the depressed areas, not just the center, but also parts where the very important social problems, and giving parts of the city back to the citizen. The citizens don't use anymore, the people don't use anymore certain parts of cities, so they have to give this part back to people. Here are some examples. I would like to be clear. Tactical urbanism isn't just making these colorful things on the roads. There is an important thing at the back, and this is giving certain identifying points to the city. What are the advantages? The first are the 2 reasons why the ministry and the ministers should be working on this: low costs and short times.
But we're speaking of investments, minimum.
I'll give a very concrete thing. You cannot put a building, you restructure, renovate a new building with the facade and everything when compared to making a big square in the cities, when the big squares cost tens of thousands of millions of euros. And this is now, it doesn't,
So from millions to billions, from years to months.
it's clear that the difference we will see is a phase projection, phase design. Then we must include the inhabitants, the population in the evaluation, but also, and then to explain to them why these things are being done, and then to make to put the project into practice. The cities that are beautiful and that are preserved by the people, obviously everything can be protected well if people understand what we're doing. Then there is elasticity. This can continue for 15 years because the climate change will always have more impact on our cities and will not make our cities elastic. We must not stay stopped, we must move. And then, of course, there are other types of things. New York was the first one to use this kind of, how you can see how it was before and after. This is an excellent thing of tactical urbanism.
Paving different.
The introduction of these elements starts from the urban mobility. Cars must not be able to have a problem to move around because we must not make people's lives more difficult. We must make their lives easier.
This is a change of vision, which is extremely interesting for who needs to redesign the urban areas, because usually these are areas, there are places that you must avoid with traffic, which is limited, and not to avoid it, but to design it.
And this is a problem because it starts with a process that starts pushing people away mentally and culturally from these kind of ways.
Also of attractivity.
This creates problems. Second, this intervention I'm going to do must be engaging. It must, I sort out that area, I fix up that area, not just like an architect who wakes up one day and decides to do something, but make it a function and functional for that neighborhood. So everything around and the people who live there must be able to be included in this design. And then I insert designs which create sociability. In Milan, they play ping pong. There are different things that children can do. Putting benches in a structural way, in a way that makes, if you put benches and flowers and everything, this stops people from drug trafficking. This is data that has been confirmed. And we have near Lisbon, favelas, which had benefits of this urban regeneration. And this type of tactical urbanism has stopped, has reduced a lot crime, criminality, and drug trafficking. So now this, from Nolo in Milan,
between Padova and Lambrate,
it has become a neighborhood with a lot of increasing, a lot of, and now it's very fashionable.
Another point of view of this. Now we have to also see the quality.
This is a point of Milan. Now here is another. How was it designed before? This is a square in Milan, and how you can see it, how it was before and how it is now. It's a completely different world. The tactical urbanization in Spoleto, how it was before and how it is now. Maybe the impact isn't so important, but as you can see, what can we see on the right? That the nature and the way that that nothing has been violated. I can still drive around in my city with a car, but I don't have to go looking crazy, go looking for parking. This was done in months. It's reversible, so we can change it. Here, when everything with the trees and everything is like that, And we have not designed it properly to absorb, but when there's a very bad downpour, here instead we start from the point where there's resilience and climate resilience. Another example, here's another part of Milan. This was before. This is the interim. Here they're putting the benches. These are, they were sitting down on the new benches reading the newspapers. Others are people who are helping the designers to make the colors. And this is how the final part of how it will be, because it happens in phases. Possible integrations, there are totems, marketing guerrilla, vocational vocal narration. And here are it starts from the first phase, which is analysis done together with the population. And then there's a technical tester. When the design is not only do I not know what it is, but I was part of this.
Doing.
Absolutely. I like very much the sentence Miragliotta said, if you don't do, you don't innovate, which is true. The designers participated, so there's all kinds of wellness, and there's awareness, there's valuation, everybody knows what is going on. I will now stop with a concrete subject. I like to give concrete solutions. In Sastrain, we are making a tactical urbanization that has never done before, and this has never been done before apart from in Milan, and it's now done in Rome. It's easy to work in Rome from an urban value, which is not, it's a very difficult city thanks to the ancient part of it. This is the focus on the area. This is the Balduina area. This square, Socrate, it's a typical gem of Rome which has been abandoned. These beautiful parts that nobody goes to anymore. Such a beautiful part of Rome which has now become like this. It was a bit abandoned.
With a beautiful
It has a stunning view of over the city. You can see the whole of Rome. Potentially, it could be one of the most beautiful places in Rome. The young people go there because they love to stay outside, and so it would be nice for the young people to be outside. And it was abandoned to itself until yesterday. The concept which we used was to evaluate this area in a simple way, briefly, and with very low investments. We did a lot of analysis, which gave the nature of this square, so that we don't know what you're talking about. We spoke to the municipality, we gave a project, we made a focus of the area, and now it was all reprojected, redesigned. The first intervention was done with the police, the local police from Rome, to reorganize the traffic without causing any problems to the citizens. This is how it will be. This is the new view of how this new square will be. There will be a wooden amphitheater, which is going to be used also for shows, etc. And it's something that the municipality has agreed. This is how it will be lived by the people. The colors all around, all the specific points. There will be some places for ping pong. We developed an application which will be able to be used, which will tell the people exactly what was done and why. And it's going to be something in 2025.
Thank you very much to Gianluca Schignaia for this evocation, which is also very concrete. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good day. Now we've seen how you can live in a different way in the future, but we can also take a step ahead, another step ahead to imagine the future. We should have online Alberto Mattiello, which is, there's a retard in the words. Sorry, we've had some difficulties. We had some difficulties in technicals. Can you hear us? Is everything okay? I think you're in America at the moment. I am in the USA. I'm in Miami. It's a little bit early. I can hear you and see you well. I'll let you the word. I'll give you the word. Thank you. Thank you. So, This 15 minutes, I wanted to give a technological one because I am a technological person, to show what is technology and what's the way to go work and compete in the future. And also I took a technology to see how this could have an impact on how we can move. Imagine how we can move, let's say, come from an experience that I did a few weeks ago in Texas, Austin, and I was able to touch a monogram. Touching a hologram is like an experiment, something, it's an illusion, optical illusion, it's not touchable. But these little medusas, these little fish that were going around from the University of Korea became something that you could touch. You could see them flying in the air, but if you tried to touch them, you couldn't, but you had the sensation that they were there. For the engineers that were there present, that I saw there, they were using some disturbances and ultrasounds to create this effect. So from these holograms, which we were using, there was a form of homo technologicus, where we can call it a homo technology, something that would give us a fusion between the real world and the digital world, a fusion between these worlds and the world of cars and people. And what is the technological platform that we are working on? Of course, it's artificial intelligence. I've seen many before this, and from the other side there's a strong change, which is the way we are able to work with digital machines, with platforms and platforms that make this eye embodiment, how to use the hands and the bodies and how to use the artificial intelligence in a robotic way. And then there's the whole clean tech, that technology that allows us to work in this world, and where the world of mobility can show us how the electrification works, how the micro movement works. These are important sections in this technology that works. Something which is very interesting in this context is that it's very vivid, its very solutions are very vivid, and these are developing in these years. For example, in the world of the auto driving, which we've spoken about on many times, and also robotic and autonomous vehicle fleets, which can be telecommanded from the past or from outside, mines, agriculture, and other sections, micro sections like urban deliveries. And also we've seen things like, for example, pure robotics, how to fix or help small parts of our everyday life. For example, your robots help you to park, or they follow you when you're going for a walk, bringing your weights, or vertical takeoffs from external to internal parts of the town, like we've done in Fiumicino, which will start next year, and it'll be a global experiment, an international interest, to arriving also to the Boring Company, what they're doing at Elon Musk in this moment. These underground tunnels in Las Vegas will be almost connected by these tunnels underground, and also the funiculars and so on above the sea. All these waves, solution waves, are born from a curiosity and from a side which is because we want our life to be more sustainable, so that we'll be able to move from place to place very quickly without impacting too much. And this generates all these things that we have been listening to at the moment, with all the new expectations. For example, the urban electrification, how it will bring in the future something that we can expect to have access to every day constantly. and what we can, kind of access that we can have. And that's why there are many opportunities given from businesses that were born in the last 5 years, which have impact on our companies. This chain of value is very, very variable. It's very long, and the opportunity to enter in these new contexts is very interesting. This is bringing about some cultural challenges. For example, it takes the culture takes one way, the politics obstacle or push, and then there are people who must learn to adopt, understand, and use, also valorize these cultural challenges and technical challenges. For example, an example is to understand that the machines can make mistakes. If you think about the big resistance of autonomous driving, which was created by many companies that have blocked, for an example, in America, have been blocked, have come from small accidents, which are considered not acceptable, when on the other side, the autonomous drive can have some important forms of safety which are much bigger respect to our everyday capacity in driving cars. So these are the most, or one of many challenges that we have to consider. And we have to also see that it's a great support and of inspiration and support, and also to those who use and also who will use this technology. Having said this 15 minutes that we're going to talk together, we have to try and imagine the future. We have to imagine what's happening in the future. One of these is to try and read technology. We have to see the emerging technology that can give us some indication. So, for example, I've taken, for example, a Google Maps. In these days, has had a great upgrade, a little bit of like leopard spots, but it's in all over the world. And there are some directors which help us, for example, in the digital world to move around. So let's take some examples. The general AI, it will become the new language that we'll use in this technology. So today I ask Google Maps to take me to an address or to a place. Tomorrow I'll tell him, using a different language, semantic language, I can say, for example, like we can say in this demonstration, take me to see the most vintage areas of this area near me. The vintage word will be used by or interpreted by the machine. It will then take a photography of all the areas that are vintage and that has anything that have anything to do with what I've asked them, a bar, a restaurant, a gym, or anything, or even a square, which will have that kind of support. And this is also valued for the photography. I can ask Google Maps to start with a photograph. I can give them a photograph and say, please, show me all the areas where this cappuccino is made with animals. And Google Maps will have many, many years of photographs which have been charged by users, and it will send me to all addresses that use it. The most important thing is accessibility. One of the upgrades is the possibility to have a support, a verbal support, when you're even walking. So on this, it becomes quite interesting because your voice of Google Maps will evolve, will become a robot, turn left, turn right. It will become a little bit more helpful and assistant as a virtual assistant. Let me just tell you another thing, small but persuasive. It will have a huge impact on this. For example, Blandy Youngs, it's a call center. A few weeks ago, I had to do a demo, and also you can do it, just that you write your telephone number, your name, and the robot will call you. I'll tell you it's a robot because it's the first time. It was so natural that I thought it was a real girl calling me. And I wasn't sure that it was really a robot or it was somebody from the company explaining it to me. And I have to tell you that I put the phone down because I was embarrassed, because I didn't understand if I was speaking to a person or a robot. I got so nervous. After putting down the phone call, I tried to call them back, and I tried to play. I tried to get angry because I thought I was speaking to a robot, and I was indicating the service that I didn't like, and I said it didn't work. The machine, in that sense, tried to calm me down, and it did it with effective computing. There's this whole scene behind it and tells you how to use it, how to walk in traffic by car, on a scooter, or however else you will work. And this is called affecting computing, which recognizes, it sees your emotions, it interprets them, and it simulates them. The technological ways are very big. They read the way you speak, your facial expressions, your eye recognition, your eye tracking, your facial expressions. It looks if you're looking at them, even biosignals, for example, your skin, and so on. On many of these occasions, can be, if you're in the car, it can be really easy to get while you're driving. But the most important thing is I'll make you hear in live the president, which they made now, the new GPT, which it shows you how to speak. And I'll let you hear so that you can have the idea of how it could be in the future, the personality of the assistant that will assist you in your navigation.
Hi, GPT. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Pretty good.
What's up?
So my friend Barrett here, he's been having trouble sleeping lately. And we have to tell him a bedtime story about robots and love.
Oh, a bedtime story about robots and love? I got you covered. Gather around, Barrett. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named...
So, as you heard, the tone of the way she spoke, but also the speed in speaking to each other. There's no stop and waiting. The machine responds normally. Is the machine, this fluidity in its speaking is pervasive, and behind there's this technology that the machine is now answering in a naive way, because there's this soft mood, cheerful mood, as the Americans would say, where you talk and chat, and she maintains the exact same way of speaking. Another very important theme is the three-dimensional vision, where it can show you any object in 3D, shows you spaces, areas, objects, also territories. These images are shown with ocean platting. The ocean splatting, which is another name which I can't remember. The most important thing is that this technology was implemented by Google. So in the new Google Maps, not only will you be able to see from the top various levels of precision and also the visualization, but you can also see very well the 3D dimensions of where you want to go. And it will be an interactive visualization. I can look at it, where I want to go, where I want to eat, but I can also move inside with the meteor, with the weather, and understand that if I go at 6 p.m. tonight, it'll be fully booked, it'll be more people, there'll be less people, it'll be cloudy, or it'll be starting to rain. So this way, to make everything much more visible, is showing that the machine must read these places and get the information and submit the information. So if I'm in an area, and I can ask my assistant to tell me what I'm interested in finding out. And for it to be more easy, it can also show internal and external areas. For example, airplanes, airports, stations, and so on. All this is shown by telephone, but tomorrow it'll be on other devices. It could be in glasses. All virtual assistants are entering into the glasses, and glasses will become the way to show and to see this kind of information. And you'll be able to see with freehand all this kind of dialogue with the technology without needing to use your telephone or other devices. If you think of the Homo technologists of before, this device is more advanced. The most advanced is the new vision of Apple, which has this perfectly this way of entering into a virtual world and to see this new digital layer. And from here, there are many applications which are becoming important, like this reading of data. It could become more interesting to see, for example, to see a television while you're watching a match of football. You can get given much more information that you want in real time. And the mobility, and in this procession, in any form, also driving in a road, can give you the same information. And it can create a lot of information that will become one of the future devices, and that will allow us to have this move between the real world and the digital world, and the twin digitals in town, until arriving in the most extreme could be the teletransporting. This video, as you are seeing now, is a colleague in America, in Miami, and he was in London, and we were speaking. Is that as if the person was really as if the person was right next door to me, the way we were chatting. And you can have a lot of teletransporting. The way we were speaking, you can pass a lot of 3D information as if you're really within a short distance, one from the other. So now what is left to do in this context? There are two big lines. One, there's an accelerated access to new technologies, and so to put the maximum value, and on the other side, to make these innovations work for us. So to be always conscious of the cultural caps, and of the ways of being also accepting this in a social way, so that these innovations can work for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alberto Mattiello. We leave you to your work. It was really a jump into the future, a leap into the future, which was very concrete.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Now, after having imagined the future, let's come back to walking on beyond the ground. What is in entrepreneurs were saying before the panel before, we have to know how to govern this future. We should have Guido Guidesi remote, who is the Counselor for Economic Development.
Well, let's start from the news. Last November, there was in Spain, at Pamplona to be precise, the conference of the European Alliance of Automotives, and the Lombardy region, besides confirming its presence and its commitment in this place, was also nominated for 2025 as president of this alliance. 2025, therefore, for you and for you in particular, is going to be a very important year.
Well, I have to say it will be a fundamental year for the sector, for the car industry, because it coincides with the startup of the new Commission, the starting of the new European Commission, that we give a lot of, we hope will carry out a good job and do what we'll have to do. And all the works of the stakeholders and the mobility and all the Brescia industries that have to show the objectives of the European community for the mobility of zero impact, and there will be a natural way of putting all this into progress. We have synthesized everything in this way. The European citizen can move the way you want, but you must not pollute. But there is also a way of using the internal combustion engines, and there's a way of be able to insert the consequences, and not only from an economical point of view, but also something that was done in Pamplona, And this was given by the European documents that showed that in the passage of passing the presidency to the new person, as something that was already been foreseen by in these documents, what was already inserted in the G set for transport will be carried out in Milan, and it sanctioned the possibility of using internal combustion engines or synthetic fuels with all the possibilities, but will not do anything else but try to put in the European documents what the G set of transport already sanctioned. We are starting our alliances, we're trying.
And so, from this point of view, the Union, the European Union, will change, is changing ways. It's also changing its interlocutor. It's always the administratives and the local and regional administrations. The land is becoming the main character of this interrelations. The regions, especially the 5-6 regions that have this industrial characterization, will become principal interlocutors to design the future also of mobility.
We believe that this is the right road, the right path. We don't think only for ourselves, but for contributing at a European level, but also we think for the future of the future Commission. The European Commission is carrying out a debate that finally about competitivity of Europe, and we hope that Europe will be competitive if it still has manufacturers, if it will be competitive if it can still produce. And so they'll have to start from this point of view with a direct relationship with territories, and we candidate ourselves as interlocutors, as speakers, in order to reach this point. We're trying to make a team and transform the relations that we have as an institutional level, but asking our companies also to collaborate and make competition, transform all the supply chains in Europe, to be able to have a strategy, a political, economical strategy, and all these areas that can contribute to the internal gross product, that they can also team up with themselves and try to put on the table or some kind of proposals at the European Commission to aim at sustainability, but also to aim at growth at an economical point of view. We hope that Europe can grow economically and can compete. I give you a data and some information. The Union of Pamplona, we closed it saying to all our colleagues that 36 regions at European level, some have all the automotive supply chains, other have manufacturers, have builders, producers. 36 regions make more than 30% of the internal gross product of Europe. So the automotive industry has historically contributed remarkably and positively to the European economy and to the growth of Europe. We closed that meeting in Pamplona saying this, and we have to decide if we want to continue.
It's useless to say that the region, Lombardy and Italy, but most of all, has some weak internal structures. First of all, are the companies that are too small, often too small, and not enough with capital to stay active in this production plan, as you said. So it's difficult for them to generate innovation and change, which is the norm is asking us to do.
This is a dimensional question. We managed in all these years, as the classifications have told us, to innovate and precede and foresee the times in products of high quality with great innovation. Our companies continue to innovate, continue to invest. They will continue in the future, also because interest rates will be decreased. So we are working on the supply chains. So we are trying to make or put all the know-how together and make companies interact with each other, and using strategic positions, and usually being guided by the main supply chain, and so that everything can be placed at international level and allow us to win those battles and challenges that we're fighting. If I can say now, what is honestly missing is that of being at the same level of our competitors. Going back to the automotive level, if Baviera tries to put Baviera can put all the 10% more the workforce, because they have all kinds of incentives, they have all kinds of economical and development, and not for a political choice, but for skills. As from institutional point of view, we are still part of a not federal state, and we are always behind compared to the other companies, other countries, the Germans and the Spanish regions, but also compared to others. And so despite this, we still have very, very important results and very important goals that we reach. Lombardy today is the locomotive of the country. It wants to continue to be this. We want to continue to have this responsibility that pulls the country. But we need this autonomy, and if this is in discussion at the moment at a parliamentary level, if everything can be finalized as soon as possible, because autonomy is not just an ideological or Eurocultural point of view. It's an economical point of view. It means being at the same level as the others. It means being able to carry out the goals that we want and reach the goals that we have, and not to always depend on certain political decisions not taken by us. And this is a point of fundamental competition. So if something is missing, that is what is missing. I'm not trying to change in certain points our companies being redimensioned and be resectioned, and our companies always win at an international level. And so if that's how we win, we would like to continue this way. We want, obviously, to help our small and medium-sized companies, and we will continue to do everything we can, and hoping that in the future, the credit of the supply chain arrives also, because, and then we hope that it does arrive and is also given to the heritage of everything.
I'm going to ask you a last question. How much have the third, fourth, and fifth of PNRR, which is touching the themes that you spoke about, cutting of bureaucracy, quicker justice, better credit, also attentive to the company's needs. How can these have a game change as you, or that we need to remain competitive in this point?
Well, for us it is extremely important. All of this is extremely important. Also, what also is also important is the fact that skills that now is a statal, is part of the state, which is given to the regions, will have more positive points for service efficiency, and so improvement of life quality, improvement and of our companies, so improvement in quality and possibilities for economical growth and for possibilities of work. So all of this is very important if it is then also given to the territories. And this is a challenge that we want to have with great responsibility. If this doesn't happen, in a few years' time, we risk having a lot of difficulty competing with Germans, with with Pamplona, Catalonia. And so either some other region candidates itself as Italy to help us, or otherwise we have to solve the problems as we decided to do in the beginning. There are not great candidates that can substitute Lombardia region, and so we will continue what we're doing. So we should try and speed up the autonomy.
Good job, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for giving me the space. Thank you.
Now,
Bye-bye.
let's, after having spoken to Guido Guidesi and imagined how to govern the future, having spoken to the businessmen how to produce the future, a very important theme now is to how to communicate, to tell this future. Because besides marketing, there should be a change, also a way of telling the new logics and the new norms is how to communicate them. And to understand the new strategies, the future strategies, we've invited some people. Luca Barbieri is a co-founder of Blum Vision. Francesca Tocchella, which is the co-founder of Corrivent Designer, and Nabi, which is a benefit company, and Gabriele Braidotti, which is the founder of 360 Communication Services. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you. So let's start with a little bit against the stream with Luca Barbieri. I'm going to give you the informal because we are colleagues. In your professional road, you chose innovation as a place of election. What we've spoken today is an attempt to construct a new scenery where the industrial world and economic and financial moving around mobility can have a future. The needs of the companies of today are to communicate externally and internally and what they are doing to change. But from your point of view, are they able? Are they managing? They're not managing? What do they need?
Thank you for this question, which is very wide. They're managing, but not enough, which is especially on international market. Our country must change image and the way that we continue. We have to antique, let's say, in the way that we do things. This innovative thing is seen more abroad. Today there was a very important slogan: there is no projection with no innovation. There is no innovation with no communication. So to attract collaborators in our companies, to increase the reputation of our brand. The other thing I'd like to say that I understood from today about this very interesting day is that we have to be careful. We have to have we escape in a head. And many times we've escaped forward, having an autonomous mobility, electric mobility. So now we have to communicate because there's a gap between the future and the innovation that we really have. So I think communication has a second role, not only to make the future important and beautiful, but also to explain how the present day is, to show have a public debate, to show innovation is possible, and diminish the gap that is that's being created in our companies.
Gabriella, you of 360, in your job, you have communicated to be industrial automotive company. What were the friction points that they desired and what, according to you, should have been told in a more transparent way? Thank you, because this is the point of communication. The centralization of the word today is also more confirmed by artificial intelligence, is that we must also think again of the words, because there's a way of telling things, or especially companies, especially technological companies, that is made of habit, made of sectors, and it's made of technicality, and which is often too rigid. It doesn't keep idea the words that we use in our way of living, in our normal way of life, and goes on its way, in its technicality way, on its ideas received from time, from habits, from experience, which they've managed to gather up until that time. So we have found ourselves in companies, industries, which are not listening. They're not listening very much to the reality or to the real needs of people which have changed. We're no longer the lady Maria who doesn't understand or know nothing of automotive. We're no longer the expert who uses words, specific words. Who works in the automotive words don't even know the words that are more researched for in that section. Often we find ourselves working for companies for components. Like the other day, we were speaking to a company who was producing electronic components. He continued to speak of immobility and speaking about words in narration that they found on websites, deployants, speaking about socials, and they will keep on interpreting as if it's a pulpit instead of a point to listen to. But they carried on speaking about this whole rush to speak, but not using that same speech, speaking about innovation, but it's not no longer possible. Because as this fantastic expert spoke from Miami, he said we are going from a narration, a vocal narration, a vocal interrogation from the people. No, they're going to tell us anymore where the tires will be free. They'll tell you exactly at what time tomorrow morning they'll change your tires. Because my smartphone has told me that I have to change the summer tires to winter tires and so on. So in my everyday narration, I haven't put this kind of language, which is the language of everyday people who look for things, who want to understand, and they want to understand with their way of speaking. Then it's obvious that we are destined to not being able to intercept our interlocutors. Francesca Lacotella telling outside what is being from the outside, what we have done. How do you tell, or how do you communicate from the internal side? The reasons for the change. Why does it create such problems?
This, according to me, this maybe only this one person who spoke about stakeholder engagement, and so involving people is the key word, because we face a platform which is very difficult, very different, very complex. And today we have the possibility of giving this message in a correct way to the public that interests us, and who we are interested in receiving this point. Very interesting this morning, because we spoke about the manufacturing side, and we know that this is not a champion of communication. I'm very sorry about this, because when I have young people in our companies, they don't have the idea of the manufacturing quality, the manufacturing parts of the country. Today we spoke about manufacturing and automotive, electric mobility, etc. But I would like to say this is the tip of the iceberg, because the companies in Italy explain their sustainability balance. They do a lot in every kind of way. The Brescia people are really trying very hard to say sustainability, but then it remains there, and nobody is able to simplify or recount internally or externally. First, internally, I would like to say, taking a pointer, I would like to say something: sustainability, balance, stakeholder engagement, and as the lady before said, it's important to go and speak and ask and understand what are the needs of the company. There's a lot of work still to be done in the manufacturing side, especially. especially when I'm in Milan with Milan colleagues, they don't have this perception of that we have in these smaller towns, of the richness and the challenge, and personalize everything towards the young people, because the young people don't have any idea. They enter into a steel manufacturing company and they remain
I also
without
think
words.
that maybe there's a lot of road to do, but also there's maybe the need on besides of the managers to dedicate themselves more to these aspects.
Definitely, this is a strategic thing at the beginning, because we all need a lot of skills, and we will need to understand sustainability since COVID without actually knowing the real meaning, what it really means to be sustainable, what is sustainability really means for a company. We have to understand all these things, which are fundamental themes, which is also of knowledge,
Gabriele?
of strategy, because the company cannot just suddenly start speaking about sustainability if it is not in its DNA, and if it has not been put inside its strategy within something, if it's not within its DNA and within its growth system, and something that it must also be an economical sustainability for a company that can also then speak about social sustainability. Then there have to be a strategy to communication. And then we start with the greenwashing systems, or on the other hand, companies that do not communicate at all. Now there is another thing where companies do not communicate things which are relevant, and think that the young people need to know what side are you on sustainability points.
I saw that you were nodding. Yes, I was nodding because communication, everybody thinks they know everything about communication, and as you know, everybody writes, everybody is able to be journalists and do blogs, all photographers. Everybody knows how to communicate, but communication seems to become the less strategic of all the functions inside a company. In fact, many times they call us and then they confuse us. They confuse us with sales. Once we've done it, they have to sell it. Now that we've done this, we have to try and listen to the needs, transfer the messages, and produce in the public a change, which should be the work of communication. And then there are your sellers, because the weak link is what, according to us, is the application of the marketing, because they ask us to form, to train, to become new, to innovate, to do the narration. Sorry if I keep using the same Italian words, which coming from, I'm from a Turin automotive section, and we're still anchored into our Italian, and I think we have many words to speak about communication. And so I say, sorry, but our industry, our small little companies are asking us to make us do the last mile to resolve their sales problems. But that does have nothing to do with communication. It has a whole chain of sales. I think of sellers and dealers, etc., who have not changed, who don't have the possibility to speak or the capacity to speak to the public. They keep using the same broken record, and they should be trained from internally before they get called, to become and speak in public and so on. By the way, speaking of Torino, yesterday I was on the telephone of the president of the Confindustria Micro guy, and he reminded me that how many companies in the old Turin belt companies are changing skin and are becoming suppliers of the aerospatial production. These changes are difficult to talk and to communicate, but it's necessary to communicate.
Yes,
of course. For us, it's very, very important to change. We see it every day. We find ourselves in front of excellences which are really international, but still today they don't have their architectural language. I'm not speaking about their internal communication or their catalogs or their journalistic. They often don't know how they would love to miss all the passages and call Corriere della Sera because that's the brand, which is under, for them there's nothing else. But they are not able to sort their reception communication. In many ways, it's quite difficult. We have many excellences that still today haven't understood the value of communication. And I'm convinced, and they are convinced to know. And they think that the social networks, Facebook's no, because my daughter doesn't use it. Instagram maybe yes, because I think it's nice. TikToks, please God, it's something really, nobody actually knows anything about the algorithm. If you don't understand the foundation, it's difficult to start giving a discourse from the beginning. We still find this in every company. Luca Barbieri. Tell me if I'm wrong, but the sensation I've had in these years, especially before COVID, in telling the startups, and you handle these directly, is almost a contradiction in that the new companies, the younger companies today, communicate less than the companies which are more structured. They have greater difficulty in speaking their numbers. It's not possible to ask for a financial statement, not even from a startup, which maybe for 6 years shouldn't even be called a startup anymore. Is this problem real?
There's this problem. It's a generational problem. And it's also, there's a mindset connected to the market. But if I can do some self-criticism as us communicators, because maybe I think this problem is of perception towards the companies. We also have it, as you're speaking about the last mile, is made of the fact that we do not pose ourselves as we should as companies, as entrepreneurs, as people who start scouting, real scouting, of phenomena, tendencies, trends, new ways of reaching the market. And we do not pose ourselves, we do not impose ourselves as we should be, to then lead the way and to show the organizational reflexes, the recounting ways, strategic ways of speaking. According to me, one of the passages that the Italians should do is recognize, select communicators who can lead companies. It's not a language for everybody, but it's an international language. And that's where we have to be leaders, because we need certain samples that from the market that help us to make ourselves known around the world. We have a space tech part here in Italy, which is not explained to anybody. Nobody knows about it.
We've got the Puglia, we have Varese, we have Piemonte.
We've got Veneto, Everywhere we have these, like the automotive industries, but without telling it, talking about Italy of space tech, of the regions. I think we need a national strategy of recounting, of positioning. We don't tell people we need to position ourselves in the market, a positioning that creates relations. And this is a different role. There's this mix of phenomena that you're speaking about before, of the startups that don't speak much about themselves, that they speak about themselves in any case.
It's a Google style, as from the start.
It's not very, very together with reality. We are very assertive in being able to explain how the world works. Transparency pays in the long term. This is my convention, especially in this era, especially about sustainability, but in all fundamentals of the companies.
Also, Francesca, on speaking on sustainability, you are also in first person committing yourself with your company because it's a benefit company.
Yes, two things I would like to say. I come from the communication world, especially from events. where in 2019 we were one of the first agencies in Italy to get a certification for sustainable events. So we organize sustainable events. And I would like to say, as Mrs. Steparava said before, it's something which is very sensible. It's organizing sustainable events means low emissions, but that is also for you use local suppliers. You try to have a short supply chain. You need products of the season. So obviously, all of this is then all summarized in the events. The other reality about the sustainability, there is a consulting company which accompanies the companies towards sustainability as the last mile. Because as I said before, sustainability must be then
This NAMI,
Mrs. Nabi. Today, since as of 2026, starting from 2025, companies will have to have a report of sustainability by law. So there will be 7,800 companies that will have to have a sustainable balance sheet, and we will accompany the companies in choosing sustainability as a strategy for business continuity. This is the aim, and as a company, we started up as a benefit company because now all companies like to be not only having objectives, but also they also want to have all sustainable facts.
And to start, I'd like to ask all three of you a question, a flash question. According to you, what is the aspect, speaking of your relation with production, what is the aspect that you feel stronger with, that you have received more? And what is the aspect that still has to be worked on?
According to me, a key point, a key word, and I am grateful for this meeting, this debate, because it's also an opportunity to listen and to allow others to listen. We are professionals that can help companies to elaborate data and transfer information, as we said before. This aspect of our capacity to listen, to train ourselves, and to learn quickly, to then transfer information, is one of our important, strong aspects of our work. The concern is that this acceleration for technology leads to more laziness from entrepreneurs to change. This could be a risk.
Well, of course, the word listening is the most important word. Like, as from you, I've been here since 9 o'clock this morning listening, because I like to hear from the businessmen what they think and what they say. But one thing which I would use is contamination. What we can do for the production companies and the B2B is to bring a little bit of contamination, which is the capacity to speak and to communicate, which is more consumer, in a B2B way. The contamination is necessary to give work to production companies, maybe multinational companies, and also to give this double vision. And the other thing that is also is negative is a beautiful red round table. We have to be more capable to bring to the people, to not bureaucratize everything. Yes, I'd like the Bresciani when Bonometti says the production is important. I wish that they would convinced, because that's our story. That's the story of the Brescia and the province. But I don't know if this message arrives. Sometimes I think there's still a vision of the factory, which is still 70s and 80s. The businessman,
maybe in the schools.
And so this, for me,
it would be important to show this to the
people.
children.
And also responsibility, as you said before, the education and politics. The vision of the factory is still archaic of the 70s.
The old machinery, the dirt on the floor. The companies are not like this anymore. Now the
I don't know
companies
who
are not
knows
more
this
green.
outside of us, that we go there for many, many, many reasons. Sometimes I wonder who actually knows this. There are some attitudes of people, they live inside, but I don't know if they know. Do they know where they live? You know, it's not always, it's also the institutions. People need to communicate in a more simple way. In a more simple way. And to conclude is two words, keywords: passion, to bring to the production, and also to the businessman, to make him understand, maybe like us journalists in our training way, to show how it works, and also because we are trying, or because they are trying to do it in their own companies. So there's this approach for passion. They have to show this passion towards. This is mixed with the danger of silence. This is a country which the industry is, risking to switch off in silence because it's being abandoned by the families, or because how many are being abandoned, or how many PMIs which have a great value, value, but they don't actually talk about themselves. For me, I'm trying to form that all these thousands of PMIs, that they talk about themselves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, all three of you, for your presence here. Thank you, Luca. Thank you, Francesca. Thank you, Gabriella. We have reached the conclusion of this Green Talk. And I ask now Alberto Piantoni, the CEO of Miglia SRL, to help me in the difficult task to, let's say, summarize today, to summarize this day, which was thick, which was full of contents. Let's stand up.
First of all, thank you to all of the people that came today and intervened. I think it was quite a frank debate. It made me think a lot, because Miglia, to be just a parenthesis, was born with a future. Futurism for Miglia was a rebellion in some way. Of course, the will to dominate the space, the time, and also their own time, of course, was a breaking point, not only cultural and not only artistical, but this is a bit of our heritage, the ability to try and put together the challenges of sustainability, the industry. I think it's a very important challenge. It's a cultural challenge. Many times we've used imaginary, this term. The imaginary, imagine something. It's like halfway between magic, a vision, and a need. Because we live in a country which is in change, and we have to realize this. Our businessmen were very to the point when they defended, and they must in some way mark their territory. The industry, for us Brescians, is a fundamental area. It's in our DNA. The industry of the iron, of the metal mechanics, the automotive, but not only. It's the only way. Also, the councillor said it well. It represents what we are and what must be our future. But the future cannot be read with the glasses of the 70s or the 80s. The future must be taken into consideration all the challenges. The environmental challenge is very important, but we have the instruments. We cited neutrality, technological neutrality, which is to get closer to technology. I even say with an open heart, because technology can help us. There's this revolution that's in the way at the moment, which is a very important revolution, where the analysis and the gathering of all the artificial intelligence data represent the most important point. The information the data is like this. They all say it, but it's true. It's the future. It's the propellers of the futures. On the other side, the impact of the technology and of the companies of our hands on the company is very grave, and this must be handled and foreseen. To affront this, we need, citing this launch made by Europe on the technology, green, transitional of energy. But what worries me a bit, from what I've seen, is regarding to interface with technology and artificial intelligence in America. They produce artificial intelligence. Streparava said it well. In China, they modify it and they use it for instrumental reasons. And us in Europe, we've decided to try and stake the rules. But this isn't my words, but it's very important CEO of an American CEO. They said, you made the choice to be referees. Strange that referees never win a match. So this is a very important theme that should make us reflect. The cleaning technology must be at the moment. But there's also the theme, which I say, is that the towns must be man-usable. If it's true that people are going to live in the 70% of the people will be staying in the town. These are areas of experiment, and all that is mobility or even autonomous. We are partners of the Polytechnical, and the fact that this year that car will do 1,000 kilometers open to the public is a huge challenge, an important challenge that Miglia has decided to follow in the future. But there's always this lack. I always try to throw the ball as high as possible. I think that the business model of Made in Italy, which is made of territory, of responsibility, and made of a lot of responsibility. It comes from the fact that the people live where they have their factories. So in some way they practice this, but they don't preach it. They don't preach. So it's a way to see a way of telling the Italian way. This business model of Made in Italy can reposition our industry, because our industry is a familiar family industry. It suffers the themes of credit and of development, but it's an industry that has an enormous opportunity from humanism and artificial intelligence. The best way to produce in Italy has a chance. It has a chance worldwide. Not only because Brunello Cucinelli in his beautiful tale tells so, but because our companies practice this. And they practice this for years. They don't just tell it. So that approach, that businessman approach regarding communication, it must be the capacity to interlock with these companies and discover what they do, the theme of listening, but also the theme of having an adequate language. Speaking to a company seems to be direct and concrete. What I'm saying is, without having conclusion, I think I've realized that there's this want. This want must form a communication network between university that does research, between companies that do technology, transferring from who communicates, and Miglia We are a platform of communication, and it's a part of our jobs. And so the capacity to communicate in a responsible way, that the resources of this planet are limited, that the technology is an aliens, and that in some way the network must not only be promotion, but also a network of investment, solidarity, and Italian way of responding to these big challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alberto. And with this, I would like to thank everybody that came here today and came here today. I'll see you next year in 2025 for the next Green Talk. Bye-bye.